Students, welcome to the new class. This is Dr. Sanjana Sharma from the Department of English. I hope you have opened your books. We are doing the essay on the pleasures of no longer being very young by G.K. Chesterton. In our last class, we read that Chesterton has given us examples of Wolsey and Napoleon, that how once they were great victors, great administrators, but they lost their position. Now let us continue the essay. We are on page number 95, paragraph number 1. So let us begin. We know that Charles V resigned his crown, or that Charles I lost his head. Who was Charles V? Charles V was born in 1500 and he was king of Germany and Spain. At one time he was one of the greatest rulers of Europe, and his kingdom included Serbia, Austria, Netherlands, and a great part of Europe as well. But what happened later on? Later on, he abdicated his throne in favor of his brother. And who was Charles I? Charles I was a British monarch. Oliver Cromwell rebelled against him. Charles I ran away to France. He was tried and he was beheaded. For 11 years, monarchy was not there in power in Britain, and Britain was ruled by Oliver Cromwell. And we should have duly remarked sic transit gloria mundi after the incident, but not before it. Now, what is sic transit gloria mundi? It's a Latin phrase. And what is the meaning of this phrase? This phrase means, thus passes away worldly glory. That this is the way the worldly glory, power, pelf, they go away. They are snatched by the almighty, powerful time. We had been told that Roman Empire declined or that Spanish Empire disintegrated, but no German ever really applied it to German Empire and no Briton to the British Empire. So he says these are some facts of the history: Wolsey, Napoleon, Charles V, Charles I. They are the example of this thing, that power and glory do not remain with someone for a long time. One can't enjoy them for a very long time. These things do go away, or they are snatched by God from a person. Even we had these examples in history and we could learn from them that these things are transitory. They are not a permanent possession of an individual. But we people never learned anything from it. The very repetition of these truths will sound like the old interminable repetition of the truism, and yet they are to me at this moment like amazing and startling discoveries, for I have lived to see the dead proverbs come alive. Chesterton says, I am in that stage of life where I have seen with my own eyes that powerful they become weak, rich they become poor. I have lived such a long life on this earth. I have gained so much experience in my life that I have truly realized that these things, power, glory, money, riches, fortunes, they do not last long. They are snatched by luck or by time or by the Almighty God. This, like so many of the realizations of later life, is quite impossible to convey in words to anybody who has not reached it in this way. It is like a difference of dimension or plane, in which something which the young have long looked at rather wearily as a diagram has suddenly become a solid. It is like the indescribable transition from the inorganic to the organic, as if the stone, snakes, and birds of some ancient Egyptian inscription became to leap about like living things. The thing was a dead maxim when we were alive with youth. It becomes a living maxim when we were alive with youth. It becomes a living maxim when we are nearer to death. Even as we are dying, the whole world is coming to life. When we are in our prime youth, we feel that things are desolate, they are outdated, they are insignificant, they are of no use to humankind, they are useless for society. Why should I adopt these things? Why should I follow these particular norms? Why should I follow these particular rules? Why I should do that which society, the nation, the family, the elder members of the family are asking me to follow, to do? We are rebellious and we rebel against these things. But he says, as we advance in our life, we come to realize that these things are not outdated. They are very much part and parcel of our life. Why? Because these maxims, these sayings, these proverbs, they have been formed, they have been coined when the society, nation, people have gone through a particular situation again and again, and they have realized these things, and then only a particular phrase or a saying or a maxim is coined. They are the gist of experience, things that have been experienced by people, incidents that have been experienced by society. Then these things become a part of a tradition. They become a part and parcel of our life. But when do we realize these things? We realize these things only then when we are entering in the last phase of our life, when we are in the later years of our life. Then we come to realize that these things are significant, they are not outdated. Another paradox is this. What is the meaning of a paradox? A paradox is a statement that contradicts itself and it still seems true somehow. That it is not the young people who realize the new world. The moderns do not realize modernity. They have never known anything else. Now he makes a statement that modern people do not realize modernity. In our day-to-day life, we are saying that this is the latest fashion dress, this is the latest trend, this is what is happening in the society. We think that this thing is the latest. But actually, he says, how can we say at the present moment in our prime youth that this is the latest thing. Only those people who have seen the past trends, who have lived in the past era, only they can claim, only they can proclaim that this thing is modern, this thing is latest, this is the newest arrival. They have stepped onto a moving platform which they hardly know to be moving, but as a man cannot feel the daily movement of the earth, but we would feel it sharp enough if the earth suddenly moved the other way. The older generation consists of those who do remember a time when the world moved the other way. They do feel sharply and clearly the epoch which is beginning, for they were there before it began. It is one of the artistic advantages of the aged that they do see the new things relived sharply against a background, their shape definite and distinct. Students, you must have heard at your home your dadi or nani or dada or nana saying something that in our time it happened in this way. And they also sometimes comments on you, sometimes taunts you that how you are behaving now in this particular situation, and how they behaved in that particular situation 50 years ago or 60 years ago was totally different. How can they differentiate between your position and between their position? They can differentiate between these two situations because they were there 50 years ago. They lived that moment, they experienced that thing, and now after 50 years they are watching you behaving in this particular way. They have seen both the moment, the present moment and the incident that happened 50 years ago, and they can make a comparison. Only they have the ability to compare and give a nice judgment on situations. They can see the contrast and they can define things very well. Youthful people who don't have much experience of this world, who don't have a wide vision about the life, they cannot comprehend the changes, and they also cannot compare. They cannot even realize that something new is happening because they are living in that moment. They haven't experienced the past. To the young, these new things are often themselves the background, and are hardly seen at all. For youthful people, this is the moment in which they are living, which they can visualize, which they can comprehend, and they don't have a fine experience of what happened 50 years ago or 60 years ago because they were not born at that time. They think that this is the moment and what they are doing is correct, what they are doing is fine because they have a limited experience of life. Hence, even the most intelligent of innovators is often strangely mistaken about the nature of innovation and the things that are really new. So, people usually in their youth fail to recognize new things because they don't have old experience. They haven't seen the past happenings. They have the only present moment before them. They live in that, they define that moment, and they give their judgment. So students, I hope you have understood what I have taught you today. Tomorrow we will continue this essay, and tomorrow the textual analysis of this essay will come to an end. Thank you very much.